everybody, this is Dan for GemmyD on Cars. This is a beautiful Friday here in Mechanicsburg, and we're taking a look at a pretty much a Japanese classic, one of the best-selling cars in America of all time. This is a 2018 Honda Accord Sport. This car has a 1.5 liter turbocharged and intercooled four-cylinder, 192 horsepower, 192 foot-pounds of torque. Now this car has sort of eluded me for a little bit. I always wanted to review a new Accord, but it is in a very competitive segment, obviously, with cars like the Mazda 6 and the Toyota Camry, and there's the other cars in the segment are equally as good. So I always wanted to check this one out, and this one came across my phone. I borrowed this from Below Blue Book Auto Sales on Simpson Ferry Street in Mechanicsburg, PA. They also have a location that I was at a few weeks ago on Paxton Street in Harrisburg. So we're going to talk about this slightly modified Accord, just a couple little touches that I'll go over. And then we're going to go over all the specs and sort of what this car means as an American car, the mid-size sedan. So let's talk about the Accord Sport. Now, just a little bit of history about the Accord. You know, this car was on Car and Driver's top 10 list for like 30-something years straight. So it's always been, you know, a solid car in the mid-size, you know, economy segment. You know, I'm biased because I drive a Mazda 6, but I think this might be one of the better looking and better overall cars in that segment. You know, I've reviewed, you know, I've been an owner of a Mazda 6 for years now. I've reviewed a Toyota Camry, so that is sort of my experience in this class. But there are also lots of new players in the segment too, like the Kia K5, you know, used to be called the Optima, and then there's the Subaru Legacy and the Hyundai Sonata. But I think this is one of the better looking and better equipped cars in the class. So let's talk about the styling. Now, obviously I am biased, but I really do think, even if I wasn't a Mazda owner, that the Mazda 6 is the best looking car in this class, just because it's simple and elegant looking. But this Honda Accord might be the second best looking of the bunch. Now, this car has been modified a little bit. As you can sort of tell, it's been lowered. It's sort of got a little bit of camber on the rear wheels, but we've got front lip splitters and back splitters. It's got these little extensions on the mirror right here, which I'm not too crazy about. Plus, I'm pretty sure, I don't know for sure, but this car I think is straight piped. The exhaust is pretty loud, which we'll go over that later. But to talk about the styling now, lately I sort of have had problems with Honda styling because it's just sort of been busy for the sake of being busy, and there's not much like continuity in their designs. I mean, the new Civic and the last gen Civic sort of had this same little, you know, design where they have that bar going across the whole front and then the little dip down. But I do think it's a good looking car. It's just Honda is all over the place. Like, you have cars like the Pilot and the Passport, which are sort of like boring, boxy looking SUVs, but then the Civic sort of look like the Accord, and then the Fit looks nothing like it. They just are sort of all over the map. That's why I really haven't reviewed that many Hondas. By the way, this car does have a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, which is like a detuned version of the Honda Civic Type R, which I did drive one of those, you know, years ago, and that was a amazing car to drive. You know, just looked great, and you know, but that car was overstyled. It was kind of ugly, but it just drove fantastically. But yeah, look at the white, you know, fleck coming off the sun right there. So the Honda Accord has gotten way bigger over the years. When I was a kid, my dad had like a 1997 Honda Accord, and that car I swear had to be 2/3 as big as this car. You have the beautiful 19-inch wheels right here. Those, I've always been a fan of those design of those wheels, but these cars have gotten bigger and bigger over the years. But this one looks great, and I don't know if they call it championship white, but that color looks great. Plus with the, you know, red accents, which you know, this has been sort of modified, probably sort of to look like the Type R, but the red badges front and back and on the inside look really good. So here, let's go around the back. Now, one thing about the back styling, and I can't ever unsee it, the taillights look like swing line staplers. Look at that right there. I'll put a picture on the screen, but I can't unsee it. They look like the staplers on the side right there. But that's the other thing. Like, these taillights are just sort of like needlessly complex. I feel like you could have just gone away with this right here, Just got rid of that little middle part right there. There's the red badge again, looks really good. Now that is where the mufflers and the cats would be, but they're not. I'm pretty sure this is like straight piped. Although I do appreciate the little tinting of the reverse lights. I have the same thing on my car. So aside from these swing line stapler taillights, I think it's a good looking car. They're LEDs front and back. This is an attractive car, and this one is especially like squatted down. It is very low. I almost forgot that it was so low. Like as I was driving, I didn't want to scrape on anything. So you can't argue the success of Honda in the US. They just have been classics. You know, the reliability is great, the deals are good, the prices are decent. So this car I think is on sale for $27,000 at below Blue Book Auto. So you should definitely go check that out. There you can really see the rear camber of the wheels, which I'm actually not that big of a fan of that right there, but it's just more for stance. So overall, I think the design is good. It's a little bit busy, plus there's the staplers in the back, which is not a bad thing. So let's check out the engine. Now here is the 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. Like I said before, 192 horsepower, 192 foot-pounds of torque. Now the ones I've seen before, now this is a cold air intake, I believe. The Hondas I've seen before when I was doing my research did not have this little cover on it, so I think this is sort of an aftermarket edition, which looks pretty good. This is a very clean engine, you know, small motor, but with the turbo you get decent power. I mean, almost 200 horsepower out of a 1.5 liter is still pretty damn good. Obviously this is the Godspeed project. I mean, you should know that already. But yeah, that's the engine right there. This engine is, you know, endlessly modifiable. Hondas and the VTEC has always been, you know, big on the tuner scene, you know, Honda Civic SIs and Type Rs, and, you know, to go into the Acura Type Rs and all that too. Definitely a project, could be a clean slate, and I think this person, you know, modified this car a little bit. This is a used car, so that's okay. You know, people like to put their own signature on things. So that is the motor right there. This car I think will definitely last you forever. So let's check out the trunk. Now this is where I think this car might be one of the best in the class, is the trunk space. So we click and hold. I'm gonna lift that up, nice little spoiler right there. Now yeah, this is huge. Like look how big that is. I feel like it's like as big as like a 5 Series or like an E-Class, or I wonder if how it compares. Let's just throw on the screen how this would compare to like a BMW 5 Series trunk. I bet you it's damn close. And I really do like this little carpet right here to go with the black and red theme. But yeah, that is a big trunk. I think that has always been one of the things about Honda Accords in this segment, that they've always been some of the biggest trunks. So yeah, there's no power tailgate. This is sort of a segment below sort of like cars like the BMW 3 Series, so you're not going to have much of the power options. You know, that is where the price really starts to go in. So all right, let's continue the theme and go on the interior. All right, going into the Accord Sport. Now this is another area where I think Honda, you know, really does very well. So this car, I forgot to mention, this car does have the 6-speed manual. That is another reason why I wanted to check out this car, as opposed to the other cars that have the CVT transmission. So let's get the air conditioning going, because it is super hot. There, I don't know if you can hear the exhaust. A little bit different than stock. Now, a couple of cool things when I was driving over in this car. On the left side of the screen in front of you is a couple different things you can go over, which I didn't even know this car had. So now right there's a button. If you hit the home button on the screen, on the steering wheel right there, you can go through tachometer, range and fuel, speed and time, audio, phone, traffic sign, driving support, driver attention. That says, like, if you're driving cross country, it'll tell you driver attention level is solid. You just hit the back button right there, go back. Maintenance, safety support warnings. Now that's pretty cool. It's like your speedometer is on the right hand side right there, and your fuel gauge, but you can go through a bunch of different things, which is pretty cool. And the screens look very nice and crisp with the pixels and everything. I would probably keep it either on the range and fuel, 48 miles to go, or you can go back just to the normal tachometer. But yeah, that is the thing about Honda. They always have the white gauges, which look pretty good. So yeah, everything is laid out very nice on the screen in front of you. Now this sort of faux carbon fiber trim I think looks pretty good. I know it's not real carbon fiber, but I think it's a nice touch. On the door, on the window controls, on the steering wheel, on the center console right here, that is very tastefully done. I like that. And I do like this shifter too. Now this 6-speed shifter is very nice to use. I said it was very nice to use in that Mini that I drove, you know, a couple weeks ago, but this is a super nice shifter, and I would assume there's some sort of short throw kit right there too, but that is a very nice shifter to use. Now the main screen right in front of you has a couple cool things. When you hit the home button, it does have a physical volume button, which I think people used to yell at. Other Honda cars that had like a little swipe up bar, I think the Honda CR-V that I drove had that. So this is a big screen. I think it's about 10 inches. You can go through all your different things, and the screen, you know, moves very nicely. Bluetooth audio, FM, settings, messages, trip computer. There's all apps. Yeah, there's lots of cool stuff. Clock, compass, Honda Link, messages, phone. You know, you can link your phone up to this. System update, there's the bottom. But yeah, the screen feels very nice, and I like the physical buttons to go home. Plus you have your buttons for phone, audio on the right hand side. But yeah, I think it's a nice screen, and the layout of this is nice, and I do not have a problem with the screens that they say are, quote, tacked on the top, because, you know, screens and infotainment is all very important in cars, so I'm okay with that. I don't mind it at all. There's your HVAC controls down there. We have a little spot right there for your USB chargers, and that's nice and big. That goes way down in there too. I can fit my whole hand in there. There's two monster cup holders right there. That is very nice. There's your economy button. There's your brake hold and your e-brake. There is your center console, which is equally deep and big. A Honda Accord Sport like this would be your family car. You know, somebody that has the kids, but you don't want the bigger car for SUV. Maybe your spouse or the other person in the family has a bigger SUV. But the Honda Accord has always been a staple in America, and I think it's easy to see why. This being a 2018 version, I forget how many, you know, I think this might be like the 11th Honda Accord that's been here, but they've always been reliable with decent performance, and, you know, Japanese cars are just reliable, and this follows that to a T. So I think this is a very nice layout that also comes with the safety features. You know, the lane keep assist. When I was on my drive over here, it told me when I got over in a lane and put my turn signal on, a second later it said, oh, lane keep assist. So lots of these features have become standard and federally mandated to have in cars, and that is not a bad thing. So as far as the design of everything in here, I like it. Now I still will say, which I am biased, caveat, I still think the Mazda 6's interior is more upscale. You know, this I'm not gonna say this doesn't really feel upscale, but it's just something about the materials and the fonts of the screens of the Mazda 6 that I personally prefer. I would love to check out a Kia K5. The Hyundai Sonata, it's just not for me. I know it has lots of features and smart, you know, things that go along with it. It's just ugly. I just think it's hideously ugly. I do not like the Hyundai Sonata. I would buy this and the Kia and the Toyota and the Mazda over that. So Honda, as far as the design up here in the front, I think did a very good job. Now let's check out the back seat. Now as you hear the drone of the probably straight piped Accord, let's go in the back seat. Now this is another area where the Honda is going to excel. Wow. So I have the seat where I was driving, and I have so much room. I mean, this is crazy. This is really a very, very large back seat. Wow. I mean, this is so much bigger than my Mazda 6. You got the nice carbon fiber trim still. So yeah, no HVAC controls back here, which is kind of a letdown. That's something my Mazda 6 has. But yeah, this space back here is absolutely huge. Now, that's another thing that would be a plus of this car. As your family car, you could fit 2-3 kids back here easily. I mean, this is way, way bigger than my Mazda 6, which is a car of the same class and same size. This is huge. This is probably one of the best things about this car is how big the back seat is. Yeah, that's really nice. There's no sunroof, no panoramic sunroof, which is fine. So this car really does tick all the boxes. I think the interior layout is nice. The 1.5 liter, I would probably go for the 2 liter to get a little bit more power. I mean, that is the detuned engine of the Type R. That's something like 250 horsepower, and this car is 192, maybe a little bit more with the intake or the upgrades that this previous owner has fitted. So let's just say this is 200 horsepower. So you're down a little bit on power, which is okay. The fuel mileage would be excellent. I know this is a combined 30. You get something like 38 miles per gallon in the city, or no, 38 on the highway, 30 on the city, for a combined of over 30, which is excellent. So it's been a while since I reviewed a Honda, but this is sort of a very nice breath of fresh air. You know, I've had a hot streak, you know, in the last few months of driving some crazy cars, you know, twin turbo V12s and Porsche 911. It's kind of good to get back to do these, I'll say, quote unquote, normal cars, but they're not normal cars. This is a solid car. So I'm liking what Honda has to offer here, aside from a couple of the modifications, which I personally wouldn't do. So let's wrap up this video on the Accord. Now I got a new stand so I can sort of talk and use my hands more. Big shout out to LumeCube for my new setup here. So this 2018 Accord does have the 6-speed manual. I think this is, you know, no surprise to anybody. This is a very solid car. I think the design is decent. I think the interior layout plus the space in the back is just huge. It's way bigger than I thought it would be. The back seat and the trunk is huge. So this would be a perfect car for a small family with 2-3 kids. I swear you could probably fit 3 kids back there. It was so big. If you're interested in this car, you can buy this car from below Blue Book Auto Sales. I will put their website right here and in the description below. So now we're gonna get this car on the road. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think about the Accord Sport. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at GemmyD on Cars, where you can see the cars that I review before they get posted to YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.